Rep the South Side whenever you pay with your White Sox debit card from Wintrust Community Banks and score perks like free ATMs, no monthly fees, and a $300 opening bonus. Pay with pride every time with Wintrust, Chicago's bank.
Hey everybody, it's Chuck Garfien. Welcome back. It's another edition of the White Sox podcast. And of course, it's brought to you as always by our great friends at Wintrust, Chicago's bank. Show your team pride with a White Sox debit card. You can get yours at wintrust.com/Sox. Member FDIC, EHL lender. Okay, on the podcast today, it's a conversation with new White Sox pitching coach Zach Bove, who replaces Ethan Katz, who's at the helm for the previous 5 seasons. So if you're like me, you want to know, who is Zach Bove? What are his pitching philosophies? Why did he get the job? And what will he bring to the White Sox to make them a better pitching staff? So I speak with Zach here on the pod. By the way, Friday, the White Sox announced the hiring of new hitting coach, 𝗪𝗏 𝗟𝗏, who was the assistant hitting coach with the Florida Marlins last season. A local guy from Glenview. Hope to get him on the podcast in the near future. And they hired Sherman Johnson to be their new organization hitting coordinator. He was an assistant hitting coordinator last season with the Orioles. So, of course, he has ties with the White Sox director of hitting, Ryan Fuller. So, for this pod, it's a conversation with Zach Bove. What is he going to bring to the White Sox pitching staff? This was a good conversation. There's a lot in here, and you're going to see why the White Sox hired him. That's next. Here we go. All right, joining me on the podcast, it is the new pitching coach for the White Sox, Zach Bove. Congratulations, Zach. And what does it mean to have this job? First major league pitching coach job for you.
Yep, definitely. No, honored. As I've kind of went through the process, getting to know the people, it's been great. Couldn't ask for a better situation, kind of, where the org is, kind of what they're doing, where they've been. Really intriguing part of it, kind of aligns with kind of what I value. So very fortunate to have this opportunity.
Yeah. How did you, they were interested in you, obviously, but how did you, I don't know if it's sell yourself to the White Sox or convince them that you were the right guy for the job? Take us inside what that process was like, and what did you want to convey to the White Sox that you can help them get to the next level?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest with you, it's just like, I'm going to be myself, right? Because it wasn't after a specific job or title. I had a great situation in Kansas City. Obviously, the people there, what they've done to my family, the success. So I was in a good spot. Well, so obviously when they called, it's like, hey, definitely hear them out, kind of see kind of what their vision is, get to know the people. And like I said, as I went through the process, it was great. But really just try to be myself. I think the developmental thread is kind of what I'm really passionate about when it comes to pitching, developing pitching. That's kind of what I've always kind of, focused on. And then obviously that leading to on-field results, right? At the end of the day, especially at the major league level, you have to win games, right? So putting guys in the best position to do that. So I just felt like, hey, this is myself. This is what's important to me. This is my philosophy. And then does it align? And obviously it did enough for them to consider me. So, yeah.
And for you to take the job, you have to believe that you are the right fit, that you can help this team. What attracted you about the job?
Yep. Yeah. I think first the people, like getting to know 𝗪𝗪 and 𝗪𝗏. I didn't really have a previous relationship with any of them. But some of the Royals people knew 𝗪𝗪. So that was obviously leaned on them. 𝗪𝗏 didn't really know, but obviously extremely bright mind, right? Just over the years of what he's kind of done in the game. And then hearing Will's vision, just the passion, the energy, things like that. And then Walker, just the staff in general. And then obviously talking with other people in different departments. It's like, man, they're definitely aligned. They understand where they were, which again lined up with kind of my experience with the Royals. I was only with the Royals for 3 years, but to where, we were kind of came in and the success that we've had over the past couple of years. So you kind of see, what it takes, right? So I kind of was prepared for some things, right? And then we want to obviously do it differently and better and unique. So once kind of all those boxes checked, and the last thing was just like, make sure it's a fit for the family. Family is really important to me. Got kids, wife, and all that stuff. So once we felt all that was good, obviously kind of took the opportunity.
Well, the White Sox saw firsthand, and the whole league has seen how the Royals pitching staff has improved in the last 2 years while you've been there. And when that happens, I'm sure phone calls come because, oh, well, we can't get the pitching coach. Maybe we can sign the assistant pitching coach. How many other teams were interested in you?
Yeah, there's some other interests. I'll just say that. But yeah, really fortunate to be in that situation, and totally, no, it wasn't just because of me. Right, ton of great people with the Royals, Brian Sweeney, JJQ. I learned a ton from them. They got to experience things that I hadn't experienced before in the game. So a lot of credit just goes to them and just being at the right place on the right time.
All right, so I want to talk about things that you can bring to the table, and I'm reading something from the Kansas City Star talking about you. The article reads, Zach was instrumental in developing multiple starters, including Cole Ragans, Noah Cameron, and Kris Bubic. Many times his role included different facets, such as finding optimal pitch sequences or implementing different pitch grips to help pitchers generate better control through the strike zone. And I also read that they consider you a Swiss Army knife in that organization. So can you just talk about what you do as a pitching coach to help pitchers go from point A to point B? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think something that, it's really individualized approach. And I think a lot of people say that, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's like, number one, understanding the individual, this pitcher, like what's important to them. How do they process information? What have they tried? What have they didn't? So like get a really good picture of them as a person. Understand like what's the problem that they're maybe struggling with, whether it's a certain handedness, a certain pitch type, a certain, stat. Again, you can dive into all those things. And then from there, it's just partnering with that player to create a plan, a process to attack that specific thing, right? It's just problem solving is just something that, is really a passion of mine. So it's like, you just view as like, hey, what is this problem this player is currently facing and what tools or skills does he need? And then from there, I think coaching is bridging that gap. Right. And that's easier said than done, right? Because these are human. It's a dynamic process. You have the game, you have the hitter, you have, the body, you have all these factors at play. So there's never just one answer. There's never, oh, this is the grip the first time. And, this will clean up everything, right? It is this constant iteration feedback loop that, I really enjoy that part of it, just partnering with them and trying different things and understanding, like, I think being really honest with players, like, hey, I don't have all the answers, right? This might fail, but this is the reasoning, right? We're going to be objective about this. We're going to not just throw everything against the wall just because what I feel is right. So there's going to be reasoning behind it. And then from there, we're just going to we're going to iterate and then see where it goes.
All right. So one area that needs to be improved with the White Sox, and this has been here for a while, is controlling the running game. All right. Yep. And you're very familiar with this. Royals pitchers, ladies and gentlemen, only allowed, and it's the catcher too, but oftentimes it's the pitcher, 47 stolen bases last year. Well, the White Sox allowed 147. 147. So how do you instill this into a pitching staff? You can say it, but they got to do it and you got to do it. So how can you improve this with the White Sox? I'm hoping quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely came up on the call. It's obviously something that Will is, passionate about. And then diving into the White Sox pitchers, like, yeah, you didn't realize, yeah, this is definitely an area, we can clean up. But, I think, number one, again, a lot of credit to the Royals. Just what I learned in that process, we were very good at that the past 2 years. And again, I can't take credit for that. But I learned, hey, maybe let's focus on it a little differently. I think every team in spring training, like, makes this a priority, right? PFPs, feeling your position and stuff. But, like, we did, I think, do some really unique things in spring training, setting the tone. That was really, as game-like as possible, quick. It wasn't a lot of standing around. It was active. We made it really fun. We tracked it. We measured it. And then throughout the season, right, we did have some unique ways of doing it. And obviously started to share some of that with the White Sox and through the process. But it is going to be a focus because, hey, I love, pitch grips and striking guys out and walks and all that stuff. But we all know, like, limiting free passes, the extra bases is a huge part of it, especially when we're playing in those one-run games, right? At the end of the day, our job is to prevent runs. So, like, we're going to try to do check every box that goes into that. And obviously controlling the running game, being quick, to the plate. That's part of it. Is something that I saw worked at a very high level, and definitely look forward to bringing some of those things on top of hearing, what the current staff and will have in play for that area.
Yeah, you mentioned one-run games, and that's the difference between in many times a good season and a bad one, or a great season and a good one. And last year, the Royals went 24-20 in one-run games. That's good.
Yep.
The White Sox were 15-36 in one-run games. And if you are able to control the running game, especially late, guys are stealing bases on you, base hit. And we see how many times everybody with the White Sox fans, you watch these base hits in the late innings with a man on second, and the Royals are scoring the winning run or tying run. It's huge. So one-run games, was that like in the mantra, in the mindset of the Royals the last few years?
The one-run games part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't extremely at the forefront. I mean, it was just again, attention to details, try to find those small areas that you can constantly improve on, not be satisfied. So I think more general themes like that. And then just being really prepared. So when that one-run game, that situation does come up, hey, we've been here. We're just going to stick to our process. We're going to be really prepared for those moments. And then, wherever kind of the ball lands, so to speak, we'll kind of take our odds from there.
Royals pitchers have been really good defensively, really good. In 2024, plus 21 in defensive runs saved, best in the majors. Next closest was the Orioles at 14. Last year, the Royals, you guys were plus 15. That were ranked second. The White Sox minus 10, tied for 27th. Is that something that as a pitching coach or as a coaching staff, you can improve the defense of a pitcher, or these pitchers either have it or they don't?
No, I think you can totally improve it. And again, along with the controlling the running game was a huge focus the last 3 years with the Royals. So again, I think, like I said, every team, I think, stresses those things in spring training, nothing groundbreaking, but number one, how you train it. Again, just getting guys to be really comfortable, throwing from different areas on the field, different arm slots, right? Because you have this time constraint of the runners, running and I got to take a couple steps to the left and I got to make a quick throw and all these things. So we're going to definitely train for those throws that happen more times than not. And again, we're just going to make sure we keep track of it. Hey, when a guy doesn't do it, hey, we'll educate them on hey, this is maybe a better way to do it. Let's try it this way. And again, just make it fun. It's nothing we're going to beat guys over, but we're going to make it fun. We're going to track it, and they're going to see the importance of it, obviously, as the season rolls on.
All right, so I kind of live and die with the White Sox. I grew up a White Sox fan. I do the White Sox pre- and post-game shows. And lately, when the White Sox go to Kansas City, it has not been pretty. The White Sox were 0-7 in Kansas City last season, and there was a 4-game series in May when the White Sox scored a grand total of 4 runs. So if I am a White Sox manager, or if I'm Will Venable, if I'm Chris Getz, I'm going to go and, hey, what did you do to control our offense and I'll stop their offense? I would be wanting to get intel from you. Are you able to share this with the White Sox? Because we got to change this and change it fast.
Yeah. I mean, so I think I remember that series specifically a little bit. I was actually the pitching coach for one of those games because 𝗻𝗎 was out. So again, just maybe obviously remember that more. But that was a really good series for us, obviously, on the pitching side. And we were a really good stretch in general. So honestly, there's nothing we do differently. It's not like, the White Sox are coming. Obviously, being in division, you want to obviously handle those games, as close as you can. But I just remember Cole had a really good start that start. But yeah, really, it's day in, day out. Our process is going to be the same. We don't, again, really, Q does a great job of just the message is today. Just focus on the day, whether we won or lost the previous day. So I can't, again, there's no specific secrets. I think one of those games, you guys had it too, and then the late in the game, we kind of snuck it out. So again, maybe ball bounces a different way, then it's a different outcome. So
yeah, there was one of those. There's always at least one of those in Kansas City. Yeah. And a lot of pitching is executing, but it's also, finding the weaknesses of the pitch of the hitters and exposing them. Right? Can you talk about just the scouting that goes into a series, a team, for your pitching staff to go and beat the opponent?
Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it. I will say, like, my general philosophy, and as I kind of went through the process, is like, we want our guys to be really good at what they're good at, though, right? I call them their superpowers. So we want our pitchers to understand what their strengths are, what makes them really good, and like, we want to lean on that more times than not. And like, there totally is a time and place to understand the hitter at the box, the context of the game, the inning, the score, third time through the lineup, third time through the series, like all this stuff, right? We're gonna be really aware of all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, we want our pitcher to stick to their strengths more times than not, educate them on that process. So when they are out on the mound, they're free. They're not thinking about a lot. They can just execute pitches, have the confidence to do that, and know, like, hey, my pitches are better than what this hitter has, no matter who's in the box. And then at the end of the day, like, we're just playing the odds, right? We'll just see what happens, put ourselves in really good positions. Then hopefully the outcome favors us more times than not.
Yeah, the game is always evolving, and we're obviously at a point now where starters are going less and less deep into games. The White Sox, I think they had the second least amount of innings for starters, or maybe the least. The Royals, fifth most. Although the White Sox were last, I think also because they were also doing openers, so that might have played into the numbers a little bit as well. Do you believe in openers?
Yeah, so Q, obviously coming from Tampa, who maybe started it. Yeah,
right.
Like especially like our first year with the Royals, we had to use that and stuff like that. So obviously was I didn't have a ton of experience with it, but then understanding how Q, I think there's definitely value in it, right? Depending on who the starter is that day, the lineup. There's a lot of factors to consider, but obviously, I know the White Sox implemented it, a handful of times this past year, and we've had some small conversations on it. So yeah. It definitely is a part of it. And if it helps the team win, puts the team in a better position, I'm all for it. But like you said, like, being with the Royals, like, our starters took pride in going deep, right? Trying to get a quality start, trying to go 6 innings every time. Give a lot of credit to Brian Sweeney, who that was like really important to him, the pitching coach, and kind of saw the value of it. Obviously, like, depending on the pitcher you have and the outcome of the game and where the game's at, like, again, all those factors. But if we can develop starters that do it, awesome, right? Take stress off the pen, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what's best for the White Sox, and if that's an opener or doing other creative things, we're going to be open to that too.
Where do you stand on closers? Because the White Sox, where they are right now, they're a rebuilding team. They're developing a lot of guys, and they had 8 different guys get saves last year. I think Leisure had the most with 7, Taylor with 6. Would you like the White Sox to have one designated closer next year?
No, I've seen both sides of it, to be honest with you. Like, obviously we had Carlos Estevez, who led the major leagues in saves, and he was nails for us. And Carlos is just a great person on so many levels. So you saw the value of that, knowing, right, hey, it's 9th inning, Carlos is coming in, like, we feel good about it, right? But then, we had that luxury. Not every team has that luxury. So if we have to go more matchups leverage, totally open to that. Again, I don't think is my philosophy. I don't have one specific way to do it. I try to be really open, try to learn from other people, other situations, and maybe explore things that haven't been done before. So we don't have to have a closer. We don't have to have multiple guys, whatever best for the team given our current makeup of the roster.
So you had a chance to watch this White Sox pitching staff. Who were some of the guys that stood out to you watching them pitch against the Royals last year?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, my kind of general talks is like just to see their progress from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, right? Was really cool to see on the pitching and the offensive side, which was obviously one of the factors that I considered. But to answer your question specifically, obviously like Shane Smith's probably the easy one, right? Being the All-Star, being a really cool Rule 5, right? That example, and then just guys hitter his would come back in the dugout. It's like, man, yeah, the fastball sneaky, right? He pitched really good. So like a lot of credit to him and what the White Sox did. So he's one. Obviously, like on the back end, Jordan Leisure seemed like to have a really good year. There's like a lot of unique arms that, as I kind of look from the outside, but as you kind of dive in, you're like, man, this guy, there's stuff to work with, right? Sean Burke, definitely, obviously opening day starter, and then just, finished the year really strong. So there's things to work with there. So there's a lot of guys on the roster I'm just starting to get to know, but obviously looking to, for them to take the next step this upcoming year.
Did you have a chance to watch Hagen Smith in the Arizona Fall League?
I did. Yeah. I was actually out there this past week. They had org meetings. So he actually pitched one game live. So I actually got to see him live, and, I've heard about him. obviously, a lot of people are really excited for him, which rightfully so. So yeah, he's definitely, one of the guys up and coming.
So what's your job like right now? I mean, you just got the job, obviously. So what's been kind of like the initial steps you've been taking as the new pitching coach of the White Sox?
Yeah, it's been a hectic week, I'll say the least, but great, right? Yeah, so obviously was out in Arizona for the work meetings, just got back yesterday. So that was great. Just got to meet people face to face, understand kind of the processes with the people, what the White Sox are all about. So that was a great timing. I just, been hired a couple of days before that. So that's part of it. Obviously, I'll continue conversations with the staff, and I've started to reach out to players through text, calls. So starting to establish that relationship just to get to know them, understand where they're at, physically, but then where they're at people and what's important to them and stuff like that. So starting to build those relationships. So it's kind of, a lot of kind of plates in the air, so to speak, but it's been great. The people have been great, and just trying to get a general good handle on kind of where the org is at as a whole.
Yeah. If we can go back a little bit, because I talked about some of the pitchers who you helped with the Royals. Can you dive into that a little bit? Like what you noticed with whether it was Cole or whoever it might have been that was like, hey, I see this, let's do this. Boom, it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Cole's a great success story, like organizationally, right? And I think like to get into specifics, like you saw Cole, when you dive into like obviously the velo jump was huge, and that wasn't us. That was due to Tread, Zombro, and all those guys. But when you look at what he was struggling with, maybe a pitch type that he needed, it was the slider, right? So like the smaller gyro slider to help the kind of both handedness. So we identified that, and then honestly, Cole, we got him over. Like he had that idea also, so it was like he brought it up, like yeah, let's go, like kind of make it his idea. Awesome. And that was a game changer for him. Right. So like a situation like that, again, that's just one example where you kind of look at what is this guy struggling with, right? Well, again, handedness, is it damage? Is it strikeouts? Is it walks? Is there a certain pitch that maybe kind of will complement that? As you can see, especially from our roster, like a lot of our starters specifically had a lot of pitches, right? So we try to think about it like give hitters multiple problems to solve, right? So obviously the extreme example of that, Seth Lugo adding to his arsenal, or the Michael Wacha maybe adding a slider. So adding certain pitch types. Noah Cameron obviously had a great year, a ton of credit to the Royals, the development that he came up with, but made some tweaks to Noah, added the slider, some tweaks on the changeup, fastball, and stuff like that, just to refine. It's not always adding a pitch. It's just sometimes optimizing or making a certain pitch better or a certain usage, certain location. So again, those were kind of some of the big picture kind of things that we did over in Kansas City.
So I'm wondering, as you're now looking at this White Sox staff, is Brian Bannister saying, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this? Or are you also, or just maybe all you're doing is, I need to look at this myself and see what I come up with?
No. Yeah, Banny's been great. And honestly, it's been a combination of both. They've been extremely helpful, supportive of, hey, showing some resources of, hey, this is kind of our take on guys, but like also like totally open to, hearing what you got. And obviously, like, I love kind of diving into the information, but like there's context that sometimes you don't get the full picture, so to speak. So these guys know, maybe the things they've tried that didn't work. So, okay, we're not going to try that, right? Or maybe something they've tried, but hey, maybe there's a different way of going about it. So no, Banny's been great. The whole kind of crew's been great of providing context and support, but knowing like giving me the freedom to kind of dive in and kind of form my own plan. And then I view it as like, hey, we're going to come together, kind of talk through things, and then whatever comes of that, right? Whatever's going to help the player at the end of the day, we'll kind of roll with that.
Another problem for the Sox pitching wise last year was walks, a lot of walks.
Yep.
How do you fix that?
For sure. Yeah. It's obviously a big talking point amongst the org. If you obviously dive in the numbers, it is a thing. So yeah, count leverage, right? I talk about leverage in two ways: leverage a guy's superpowers, and then obviously count leverage, right? Leveraging, putting the guys in better position to succeed from a count state. Again, nothing groundbreaking there. But I think how that's messaged, again, how it's tracked, how we train for it, whether that's in pens, catch play, understanding that individual, like what is, I think identifying walks, that's the easy part, right? But is it solely a zone issue? Is it a pitch location issue? Maybe there's a delivery issue that's tied with that. Maybe it's a mindset issue. Maybe the guy is, the intent's not there. Maybe he's trying to run away from barrel or contact or stuff like that. So it's educating the individual on like what makes you really good, again, which in turn gives that guy individual confidence to attack the zone more. I think of count leverage as an invisible force. And what I mean by that is a 2-0 count to 0-2 count. we know the outcomes are different, right? But same pitch, same location, like we'd rather be in the 0-2 count than the 2-0 count, right? So it's just understanding that, tracking that, getting on the good side of that. If we get to 2 strikes more often, we'll take our chances with the outcomes, but obviously with the walks, we're gonna lessen the opportunity to walk the guy if we're in those 0-2, 1-2 counts more often than not.
Yeah, this is maybe a question more for like spring training, but I'm kind of curious now. I mean, trying to figure out this rotation right now is it's interesting. Like, who do you see as guys who could be big anchors for this rotation in 2026?
Yeah, I think, as kind of me looking through the roster and then conversations this week, it's like there's definitely options, right? Obviously, there's the easy guys that, were in the rotation last year, which I think are all going to be given an opportunity, and then whether some other guys going up. Nothing specific right now, but there's definitely options to work with, and we're going to, have creative maybe uses of them. Again, whether that's openers or just the 5 starters or whatever. So I don't think I'm like prepared to answer specifics, but there's definitely kind of options that we're talking through that I'm excited to kind of explore, in the upcoming weeks and heading into spring training.
It's a couple more questions. What was the reaction from the Royals when they found out you were leaving and going to an AL Central rival?
Yeah. I mean, they were great. I couldn't ask for a better situation like I was in, and support throughout the process and after, the people that reached out. Yeah, obviously, tough for me leaving. I think they felt the same. So obviously being in division creates a little context. Pretty much every comment is like, "Oh, great luck, good luck," except for when you play us, right? Which is totally understandable, and kind of feel the same way now. So no, the Royals were great. Couldn't ask for all the way from the top with JJ, front office, coaching staff. They were awesome.
And how'd you find out, and what were you doing when you found out you got the job with the White Sox?
Actually was on vacation at the beach, a lot of family and stuff like that. So it turned into a great time just being with family and being able to kind of celebrate that as a group. I was at the beach kind of with the family. So
you were literally at the beach when you found out?
I was actually by the pool, so to be specific.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, congratulations. This is a great fan base that is beyond itching to get good again. And I know you've seen in the past the White Sox be good, and you're going to play a big part in that. So congratulations on the job. Thanks for joining us here. And I look forward to more conversations about pitching with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. That's Zach Bove here on the White Sox podcast. 𝗏 𝗂𝗄𝐿, take it away.
All right, Art Chuck, this edition of the White Sox podcast is over.